Welcome to HLA webinars. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our webinar today is how hearing better leads to living better. I think that this is our webinar disclaimer, and our Executive Director, Barbara Kelly, will introduce our speaker. Barbara, go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you, Carla. I really appreciate it. Carla is on our national staff at HLAA, and I'm Barbara Kelly. I am so excited to be coming to you today and welcome everybody. This is one of our product showcases. This is not like our typical educational webinars. This is a product showcase, and we allow our companies who sponsor these events or pay for advertising for these events to come on and use the marketing of their products. Now, many of you attend our conventions every year. And this year, of course, our convention has been canceled because of the global health situation. So you would come to a convention and you might come to one of these in a demo room and see a product being showcased, or you might go to their exhibit booth and see a product being showcased. So we're bringing this to you virtually. We don't endorse any of these products. They are open up to many companies. And today, we are pleased to have Dr. Sara Burdak, and she is the Chief Audiology Officer at Starkey. And Starkey Hearing Technologies is a US company. And Dr. Burdak has been with Starkey as part of their research and technology team since 1999. And she's responsible for developing Starkey's audiology strategy, which includes clinical research and hearing programs, as well as Veterans Affairs and other industry partners. She literally has trained thousands of audiologists and hearing care specialists across the country. So today, in our product showcase, we welcome Dr. Product Showcase.
Thank you so much for having me. It's really, really fun to be with all of you today, and I appreciate you taking the time so that we can review some of the technology, especially with everything that we have going on in the environment today. So I'd like to just go ahead and move forward into the presentation. Let me see here. I'm clicking ahead to advance the slides. Just give me a minute here. There we go. Okay. So one of the things that we see so often is that we know hearing is essential. And one of the things that I really love about our partnership and being able to work with the members of HLAA is that you have already embraced to better hearing. And when I think of that specifically, and we know that hundreds of thousands of people have hearing loss, we also see that many of them don't take the action like you did. So when we think about this time, we know that the stats show that the average age of the first-time hearing aid user is still around 70 years old. What we also know is, yes, there has been some progress made, but we still see that the average person is waiting about 5 years before they decide to do something about a hearing problem, even once they know that they have a hearing loss. That's a really long time. And so when we talk about the fact that hearing is essential, we talk about partnering with organizations like HLAA to get the word out there about doing something about a hearing loss. We then also can see that really only 1 in 4, or less than about 30% of adults who could benefit from having a hearing aid actually pursue one. So part of this presentation and up front here is really thinking about, why is that? When hearing and hearing loss can have such an extraordinary impact on somebody's overall life. So that gets us into what we look at Starkey. And we have great expertise. I'm going to just go back to the last slide here. We have really great expertise in what it means to hear better and live better. And many of you probably know some of this already, but a lot of people don't. And it's the fact that hearing loss has so many associations with other health-related conditions, other comorbidities. And when you think about the impact then of what an untreated hearing loss can have, I struggle with the fact that there are people out there that aren't prioritizing their hearing. They aren't wearing amplification. They aren't willing to try anything and every accessory possible to help them be able to hear better and live better. So because of that, and Barbara in her nice introduction said, I've been doing this a really long time. I've been at Starkey working in research as well as in education and training. And then my team also supports everything that we do from the government affairs perspective. And that's part of our partnership with HLAA and supporting their veterans chapter. We then look at this and thought, gosh, but people aren't embracing the technology. They're not running. You know, I don't hear well and I need a hearing aid and I need to do something about it. So with this great expertise and the way that we're thinking about this, we wanted to look and think differently. And to do that, we had to say, you know, it's time. It was time to do something different. It's time to think about a hearing aid, reinvent what people traditionally think of a hearing aid, and look at how that would be more strategically thought about from an actual health aid perspective. So, you know, when you think about that gets into the terminology and some of the things that you've likely been hearing about, and creating a healthable hearing device that is multi-purpose, has multiple functions, so that we have something that people want to wear, that it's engaging, that it's helping them have meaningful conversations, and it's also helping them live an overall better life. That really is the key to everything that we're wanting to accomplish with this technology. So we are the first and only hearing device, and we still have many of these features that I'm talking about now as the only option available to you in a hearing aid today. And that's something that we're really, really proud of, because with this multi-purpose functionality, we have built in integrated sensors right into the hearing aid. So similar to the sensors that you would have on your phone that can track if you're taking steps, that can track if you've rotated your phone, for example. We use sensor technology, and it's in the hearing aid itself. And when you think about having that sensor on board the hearing aid, it means everything is very accurate because your hearing aid is on your ear and you're wearing it all the time, unlike a phone, for example. So we know by having this on board the device itself, we're able to provide, again, really unique value that I'll get into in just a moment. The other critical piece here to think about is how hearing aids are using artificial intelligence today. And we see all the time in everything that AI is being used. It's truly everywhere. And so when you think about that use of AI, when we see, for example, Starkey is right down the street from Tesla, and they have self-navigating cars. I saw not that long ago that there are self-driving trucks and semis now. How many of you have been shopping and all of a sudden, after you're done, something comes up online making a recommendation of something you might be interested in? Well, that's all using artificial intelligence. And the hearing aid that I'm talking about also uses artificial intelligence. And the whole intent is if this is this overarching approach for these hearing instruments, it truly can sense what's going on in the acoustics of your environment. We can always analyze the data in the environment so that we understand what it is. So for example, are you in a windy environment? Are you out and you decide to maybe make a smoothie and you start the blender, for example? We need the hearing aid to sense, was that a machine sound? Was it wind sound? Was it speech? What was it? So we have to understand it. Then we use AI to act in the hearing aid and learn from the environment to make a really smart decision for how we can help you hear the best at every moment in time by constantly doing this evaluation of the environment that you're in. So it's really amazing what we're able to accomplish today in hearing aids. So if we start with this discipline of using artificial intelligence, and I will say that I just read something that spoke about the fact that the name artificial intelligence will likely be dropped out of anything. It won't be a product like ours, Livio Edge AI, or all the AI names you're seeing, because if you have technology, it's going to be assumed that it has AI. So our hearing devices have artificial intelligence. They then have the next layer of what we call machine learning. And machine learning is just that. I think of it as really sophisticated acoustic pattern recognition. So think of all of the pictures or images that you see on the screen in this presentation and what that means. When we're talking about your hearing aid performance, it needs to be working outside, at a restaurant when you're trying to have a conversation. We have to be managing speech and noise, speech and loud noise, speech coming from the front of you or the side of you, and help make sure that your hearing aids are always prioritizing what it is that you want to hear. And that's really hard to do, but we're very good at actually doing that today because we're using all of this advanced technology where we're applying these learning scenarios so that your hearing aid knows when you decided to go on the golf course and it's windy, it says, okay, this person's in wind. I need to adapt the hearing aid automatically without you having to do anything. I need to adapt the hearing aid automatically so that you're comfortable in all of the listening environments that you're in. So this whole system is always going to prioritize audibility. So speech audibility is our job one. And then it's going to prioritize speech intelligibility or understanding. And then importantly, it's going to always look at how do we then make sure that you're comfortable in all of these different environments. So some examples here with what we call hearing reality are making sure that your hearing aids work even when you're in a quiet environment. That can be tricky. Having a hearing aid be quiet while you're at home reading a book in quiet needs to be one of our classifications. The most important classification that I think everyone is interested in is speech and noise. So we always make sure that is our biggest priority. We want to cover things like transients. How many of you have worn a hearing aid before and you may be walking and you drop your keys on a tile floor? Well, without transient noise management, you might have said, "Oh my gosh," right, and jumped out of your shoes because it was so loud. So those are the things that we're always looking at. How do we make sure, again, that you can understand speech and maintain listening comfort at all times? We also then look at specific situations, like I mentioned machine noise or a blender, for example, wind noise. Something that's so important and near and dear to my heart is we have a classification and strategy that's very specific to music. Years ago, and I've said I've been doing this a long time. I've been at Starkey for 21 years, but I've been an audiologist for 25. There was always this trade-off where if I had the hearing aid set for somebody and we had the speech understanding down and we had everything else really, really dialed in, oftentimes I had to give up on how they heard music. Now we have dedicated programs, I'll say prescriptions, that we can identify for speech specifically and then for music specifically. So I love that about this system. The other thing that I think is really, really important for all of you to know is everything that I'm saying is done automatically in the hearing aid. You're not having to find your phone, find a remote control, to make an adjustment, to figure all of this out. This is on and working for you all the time. And it's doing this calculation or the math of it all every 6 milliseconds. It says, what's going on in the environment? What do I need to adjust? How do I make sure that you're hearing to the best of your ability? And you can tell I get really excited and passionate about this when talking about it, because it's so fascinating to me. But one of the things that we're really proud of at Starkey is that we have over 100 patents just on what we're doing with sound quality alone. We also look at how we can take the technology to the next level. And that's with a feature that we call Edge Mode. Now, Edge Mode is literally putting artificial intelligence in your hands. So have you ever been in an environment wearing your hearing aids, even with all of the sophistication that I was just talking about, it wasn't quite enough. And that situation was very specific. What Edge Mode does is allows you to have a double tap function on the hearing aid itself that is going to give you, based on artificial intelligence, a specific setting that is going to help you just for that situation that you're in. And you can then just double tap your hearing aid again, and it'll go back to your regular setting. So it's using AI to give you, when you're wearing these devices, I like to call it sort of a help me mode, and allows you just to double tap on the hearing aid itself. It will generate specific performance settings in the hearing aid just for you, just for that specific environment to help you out. And then you can turn it off when you no longer need that anymore.
I just have to interrupt you for just a second.
Yes.
I need to remind our participants to, if you have any questions for Sara, please enter them into the Q&A portion of the Zoom meeting control. We are not using chat for exchange for question and answers. We're using the question and answer. And when Sara is done, she'll be able to address your questions at that time. Okay. I'm sorry for the interruption, Sara.
No problem at all. Yes, I want to make sure that we do have some time, and I will be going into the Q&A at the end of the presentation, and we'll make sure that we get to the Q&A. I also had committed before the presentation to, if we don't get to everything, I'll be providing my contact information, and I'd be happy to make sure that I answer the questions even after the webinar is over. All right, let's see, we're back on, there we go. So when we think about all of this from a technology perspective, we are really, really thrilled to have just released the world's first and only custom hearing aid that is rechargeable. And this is something that I know everybody is excited about, certainly all over the world. I do have my set right here to show you. So they come in every color. So know that we've showcased them in black. However, they come in pink, brown, you know, all of the different colors that you can think of. But it's really fantastic. And they come in this nice charging case. The devices are secure on the case. And it's really been something people have been asking us more and more about, especially during this time when people are often having to wear masks. And it gets a little bit tricky sometimes when you have a a product that fits over the ear and you're wearing the mask, possibly glasses like I wear sometimes, and then the hearing aids as well. So from a convenience perspective, from an overall dexterity and ease of use, having a customized device that fits in your ear that's rechargeable has been really fun for us to see patients who are very excited and able to benefit and use that technology. So I do want to call out the fact that we have the devices in really several styles, as well as the custom rechargeable. We have different power levels, and we have a power rechargeable device, and you can see there we have a receiver in the canal that's rechargeable. So based on your needs, and it's not the same for everybody, you might need some of the technology, you might need more advanced technology, you might have a more mild hearing loss, you might have a more severe to profound hearing loss. We really want to have a solution for everybody. Now, I also know that there's great interest in having a telecoil on the device. The vast majority of the devices do have a telecoil. I will also say even on the custom products, they have a telecoil if we can fit it into the device. So when you're getting down into the smaller canal sizes, for example, that's harder for us to fit a telecoil into the product. So typically that depends on size. However, in the standard products, we do have the telecoil option. We also know from a loop perspective, we have our theater here where we do all of our classes within our facility is looped so that it works with the telecoil. So just know that we recognize that no two people are the same, no two hearing losses are the same. Your needs from what to expect out of the hearing aids is not the same either. So there's a lot of options with this that we're able to work to make sure that you're fit well and get what you need. That said, beyond the hearing aids, we know that there are some unique environments. And we have seen, especially now, with everything going on with COVID-19, people are interested in adding on some of the accessories that we have. And I do have a few to show you, but we have dedicated accessories for example, people have said they're watching more TV. And an accessory such as this one is a TV accessory that when connected to your TV is going to stream the audio from the TV directly into your hearing aids. So that makes it really easy and a good experience for everybody. We have a standard remote control, which just allows you to change your volume and memory. We also have tools like the remote microphones, which I believe you might be familiar with. This would be for a companion, for example, especially with social distancing. If you think about this, they would wear the microphone, then their voice is going through the microphone and then being streamed again directly to your hearing aids. And then one of our newest additions, which I just love, is this small, it's called a table microphone. It has 8 different microphones on it. It's designed to do just that, really be put, it could be in the center of a table, it could be by someone talking. And again, it's using really this directional array of microphones to make sure it's picking up others' voices and then again streaming those voices directly into your hearing aids so that you're able to hear that much, much better. So these are really add-ons to your hearing system, which can give you help overall in more specific environments as you need it. So we know in all of this, the whole goal, outside of anything else we've spoken about, is to make sure that we're using the artificial intelligence, we're using machine learning, we're using everything that we can in this patented technology to have the best sounding, best performing hearing aid. With the accessories, we want you to always have the best sounding, best performing system, no matter what it is that we're doing. So I do want to just touch a little bit here then on some of the health apps and the components that get us into the hear better piece that we spoke about, but what about enhancing lives and living better? So we're asked a lot about connectivity to phones, of course. And so yes, we do have direct connectivity to your phone. And that allows you, again, if you're streaming calls or media, that can go directly into your hearing aid. The app also provides a remote control function to your hearing aids, so you don't need a separate accessory for that. It has really fun tools. If you couldn't find your hearing aids, you can use the app to find your hearing aids, as well as some advanced noise control and more. So the app-based technology really expands the functionality of your hearing devices significantly. One of those functions is how we use the hearing aid and the app itself to be able to track your body and brain health. So with that, I already mentioned the sensors are right in the hearing aid. And how accurate, if you're wearing your hearing aids, it's going to be able to then track your steps. It will track your exercise as well as your stand goal. And it can give you points. If you achieve everything you're supposed to at that time, you can get up to 100 points for that body score. But what do we know? People understand that exercise is so important, right? We know that. But what people don't always recognize, and we're seeing it more and more because of this unprecedented time with COVID-19, that there is more social isolation that can lead to loneliness. That can also lead to increasing morbidity and mortality, especially in older adults. And we are experiencing a loneliness epidemic that leads to even other health-related risks. So it was important in what we're doing with our technology, again, to think differently. So the brain score looks at, first and foremost, people can't benefit from this technology if they're not using it. We want people to use and wear their hearing aids. They're designed to be worn all day, every day. We want them to also engage in meaningful conversations, as well as get input and audio input to their hearing devices. So the engagement score could mean you were streaming a movie or streaming music, as well as having conversations, so that you were getting this acoustic stimulation to your brain. And then environment tracks, how many different situations were you in? Were you home and quiet? Right now it's a little tricky to be in multiple situations, but maybe you did venture out and go to the grocery store, for example, or maybe you were in your car for a little bit, or had some of these different environment calculations. So really looking at what you were doing from an active listening and engaging perspective. And that provides a score as well and can give you up to 100 points. So it's really fun between the body score and the brain score, this whole system, you're targeting up to 200 points a day. So for those of you that like gaming It helps keep you motivated and helps keep you up and moving, as well as keeping your brain mentally active and stimulated. Now, the other thing that I think is so amazing is because we have the sensors on the hearing aid. And a sensor can tell certainly forward motion, like if you're taking a step, it can track point to point, like point A to point B. However, a sensor can also detect angular motion, like a fall. So within our hearing devices, we have on board the hearing aid a fall detection and alert system that you can set up to alert loved ones if you have fallen, so that they will know and they can come and provide help or support. So this is just an incredible use of the sensor technology that's built right into these hearing devices as well. So not only, do we know that elderly folks are more prone to falls, we also recognize that the mortality rate after somebody has fallen is greatly increased. We also want to look at how do we think about accessibility and mobility with our hearing devices. And I think about the population. Remember, I know with this group participating, many of you are using hearing devices. Many of you embraced them earlier than some of the stats I showed. But if we still are going off of that first stat, where the average age of the first-time user is 70 years old, then yes, we need to think about how these individuals are going to be easily using the hearing devices. So we see an increase in arthritis or some limitations, dexterity, numbness in the fingertips, for example, or even memory impairment. And we also recognize the fact that the preventers of people using hearing aids successfully usually are, they can't necessarily see, they can't feel maybe the button on the back of the hearing aid. They do have some fingertip sensitivity issues, and then they may even have some, again, memory or cognitive issues in trying to work with the technology. So our intent is to always make this system as seamless and automatic and easy to use. So I've mentioned already the tap control function. I want to point out that there isn't a little sweet spot on the hearing aid that you have to find. Most of the time, if you really tap anywhere, even tap the ear, it'll engage the change that the individual is looking for. We also, though, have some features that I want to just highlight quickly. And again, these may not be for everybody, but they really are accessibility tools that matter and can really impact your life overall. So I'll talk about in more detail the Thrive Assistant, the reminder function. We have had so many people love the fact that within the app, there is a translation tool. You can choose what language you want translated from, let's say, English to Spanish or Spanish back to English, and it'll translate what that individual is saying to you directly through the hearing device. So it's really, really extraordinary, especially for those of you wearing this technology who are traveling. I know most of us aren't right now with our shelter in place orders, but in general, that's been really a fun feature that people are so excited to hear about. And that aligns with the transcribe function as well, where it will transcribe your notes, for example, and it would then have that read through your hearing devices too. So there's a lot of control and simplicity features that are available. So the Thrive Assistant is within the app, and it allows you to ask a question similar to Alexa, and it will read the answer again right through your hearing aid. So if you wanted to know what the weather was going to be, it would read that result through your hearing aid directly. I love the fact that we also now have voice activated commands. So how fantastic, you can say, change my memory to outdoor, turn my volume up, and it'll automatically make that change through the hearing aid directly. And then the last feature here that I want to highlight is reminders. You're able to set up a reminder for things like appointment, but you'll see in the picture here that I'm showing a reminder for medication. And this has been something that has been so incredibly helpful with my mom, for example. And she was more recently diagnosed with vascular dementia, and she forgets. She's on all this medication, she just simply forgets. And that can really, really be dangerous, if not deadly, for her to miss these medications. So you can set up the reminders that'll tell you or remind you through your hearing aid of very important tasks, or in this particular case, when to take specific medications. So during this time, I want to point out that the hearing aids that you're wearing, whether they're Starkey devices or not, there are capabilities for telehealth and remote programming. And within our system, the remote programming feature, you can work with your audiologist. They can send you out a change to your hearing aids remotely. You would use the app itself, and then you would be able to download a different setting for your hearing aids. So an example that I have is I had a patient I was seeing who really had a hard time hearing in a Cracker Barrel restaurant. Most of you know what Cracker Barrel is. It's very difficult to hear there. And prior to being able to do remote programming, I actually went to Cracker Barrel with her, with all my cables and my wires, and we programmed her hearing aid. Now, with remote programming, I'm able to send her a change. She can try it in that situation, and she can choose which one was helpful and choose which one then to download into her hearing aid. So again, all of these ways right now are very important in general to be able to support you from a hearing healthcare perspective. And it's become even more important because of what we see with COVID-19. So know that really most of the manufacturers or the brand of the hearing aid that you have, they will have some type of remote programming or adjustment services. I think right now as well, it's always important to have your hearing aids working effectively. We have a special tool that's called SelfCheck. And what I really like about this for anybody using our technology is it does a quick sweep to see the integrity of your hearing aid from your receiver, your microphone, and your overall circuit. And it'll let you know if everything's performing up to the specification. And if it isn't, it's going to recommend that you call your professional and get some help, and they can work that through with you. So right now, a lot of audiologists are doing remote care services. They're doing curbside services. And there's so many ways that if you need support, that they can see you in a contactless and a safe environment where they're taking all of the precautions necessary and following all the CDC guidelines or any of the local or state or federal guidelines to make sure that everybody is safe. So if you need to, please, reach out to your hearing healthcare provider, because they're happy to help, and everybody wants to make sure that you're hearing better at this time. We have a lot of resources on our website. So from how do you change the wax guard, how do you make sure your hearing aids really stay worn on your ears, and how do you keep them working? And know that through Starkey.com, there's tons of video resources and tools to make that really, really easy for you. The last piece I want to just highlight here is something that, again, is totally unique to what we're doing here at Starkey. And that is a companion or caregiver app that coincides with the use of our hearing aids. So the Livio Edge AI hearing aids have this amazing caregiver or companion app. And I love this. Again, I'll use my mom as the example, because I'm able to know, is she wearing her hearing aids? Is she up? Is she taking some steps today? Is she active today? Has she had some conversational speech today? And I'm able to use this to help check on her, because, when we look at just the overall population here, I think the statistic in the middle is people want to stay home. They want to stay in their own home, yet the vast majority of people have a family member as a caregiver, like my brother and sister and I are my mom's caregivers. And this helps give us the peace of mind when she's wearing these devices, which I think is so unique to what we're doing. So with this, if you're wearing these hearing aids, you could choose to share. It's up to you. You would choose to share information. You can choose what information to share with a loved one. They would then know that you're healthy and safe. They would know, for example, and be part of the fall alert system, so they could help you if you've fallen. And then they know overall if you're really using these devices to truly hear better and live better, which is the whole goal of everything that we're talking about. So hearing aids have come a long way. I think it's so important to recognize that most technology turns over about every 18 months. Hearing aids are no different. So it's a fast pace. There's amazing things that we're doing at Starkey. We've been recognized for doing some of these things. Know that the hearing aids are cutting edge. I loved this story because it talks about hearing aids have translation for 27 languages. My gosh, they track fitness. They have fall detection alerts. And it just may be that the future of a wearable technology is called a hearing aid, which I love, because I think, again, back to the beginning and wanting to change the conversation about hearing aids, that's really the whole goal. Reduce the stigma, which some people have, unfortunately, and create these fantastic devices and multifunction and multi-purpose. We've won several awards for this technology, and one of them that we're really proud of was really the best invention of 2019, which was in Time magazine. So it speaks to the fact that we have this amazing, direction. We continue to get testimonials all the time, every day, from people like you wearing our hearing aids that are life-changing. And that's why I do what I do. Hearing technology changes people's lives. But now with what we're doing, we have to think differently too, because now we also have integrated life LifeSaving Technology, when you think about the direction with the companion app and having a caregiver or loved one be able to help monitor the situation, or if somebody's fallen, able to send out an alert to their loved ones as well so that they can get some help. So it does make a big difference. And that's why when we talk about this overall, it really is how hearing better can translate into helping you live better and an overall improved quality of life, which is so important. I know there are questions, and so I wanted to save a few minutes. I believe we have about 10 minutes or so for questions. I'm going to go ahead and just open up then the Q&A area. If I can here. Let's see. I don't know, Carla, if you have the Q&A area is not
Yeah, hang on
popping
one
up on
second.
my screen.
Okay. I have to move the captioning up. Try opening it now.
Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't see it. I'm happy to answer it if you can pull it up.
Okay.
Then maybe I'll see it and then we will just go from there.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Yeah, sorry about that. Let's just make sure. I want to have time to answer questions.
All right. The first question is, I have sudden sensorineural hearing loss last November. As a result, lost all hearing in my left ear. I have 40% hearing in the right ear. I have bicose hearing devices with ComPilot and table speaker. What else should I be looking at?
Well, it sounds like you have a very good setup that would work for you. And I think that the additional accessory would be very helpful. So in what you're describing, I think that's a really good configuration, because you've mentioned that you have a cross device. For those of you listening that aren't familiar with that, if you have a hearing loss that is either one-sided or unilateral, or a very different degree of hearing loss between the two ears, then what a cross system or bicross system does is it's going to route the signal from the side that has the greater degree of hearing loss. So it will pick up that signal but route it over to the better hearing ear. So I think in your situation, that setup is very good. And then I think from the accessory perspective, that would be something, again, you would just want to make sure that you're using any and all of the accessories that would help you in more specific environments. And that's why I said what you were talking about is similar to having either the table mic, or in that case, having what's called a remote microphone. And remote microphones are so good for being able to, again, have a direct pickup from somebody's voice. You know, if you went out and even you would have your spouse, for example, or, you know, someone, a loved one wearing this, then that really is going to be effective in decreasing what typically would be there from the distance and the surrounding noise, and basically give you a direct line connection from their voice into your hearing aids. So it sounds like, you know, you've thought this through with your hearing health care provider, and have certainly, you know, tools that I would recommend.
Okay, Sarah, the next question is I wear the Widex Evoke. How does the new Starkey differ? Can it help understanding speech in addition to just amplifying sound?
So I can speak to, you know, what we're doing at Starkey to make sure that we're always enhancing and providing the best possible speech intelligibility. So we have several different layers of technology. So I'll say there are more standard levels of noise management or noise control that are designed to do just that. Make the noise more comfortable, increase the volume of the noise. That's very different than a system that we use called directionality. Directionality in a hearing aid uses multiple microphones so that it really can prioritize. If you think of two microphones on your hearing aid, it can prioritize where the speech is coming from, and it can amplify the speech more than the noise. That is called a speech to noise ratio improvement. And that's really ideal in any hearing aid that you're wearing, that you have some level of this directionality so that the hearing aid can actually improve speech understanding and noise. So that's really a critical piece. So that's the type of technology that can be on board your hearing aid. If you really then need more than that, then I would suggest possibly thinking about an accessory. And by that, it could be something like I just showed you with a table mic or with a remote microphone. Those really are, again, taking away the effect of distance. If someone's sitting, you know, from you, if somebody right now with social distancing is further than, you know, 6 feet away, if there's a lot of noise in the environment, accessories allow a much greater improvement to speech understanding because they basically take out the effect of distance and all of the noise and give you a direct line to the speaker's voice that's going straight into your hearing aid. So those are really, you know, I'll say you have your hearing aid, which, as you commented, can, if it doesn't have all these technologies, amplify. And when it amplifies everything, whether it's speech or noise. So you want a hearing aid then that has advanced noise management. You want a hearing aid that has, when needed, these multiple microphones so they can target and focus on speech. And if that's not enough for all of your environments, then yes, I would consider having one of the accessories that's then going to improve speech understanding even more.
Okay, so I think I just need to let you know we have quite a lot of questions on this call.
Great.
We have about 51 questions
gosh.
on this call. So
Great.
it seems like we probably should have you back for another question and answer session just by itself.
But, yeah, I would be happy to. I didn't realize there would be so many questions. So thank you for being really engaged during the presentation. I really appreciate it.
I think we may have time for one more question.
Okay, absolutely.
And I'm going to see if I can get one more question. Let's see. When the Starkey app has location data enabled, does Starkey give this information to a third party?
Thank you for that question. We do not. So the location service is really designed within our app. We use geotagging, which is a really nice feature. So for example, if you set up a custom setting, maybe you like to go to the coffee shop on Grand, and if you create a customized setting that works really well for you at that coffee shop, and in that setting you choose to geotag it, what that means is the next time you go to that coffee shop, it will automatically put your hearing aids back into that optimized setting. So it'll know that you're in that location and again, make the change for you. Our whole goal of doing all of this is again to make sure that this is done automatically. We don't want you to have to engage with the technology all the time. It needs to be seamless, and it needs to be making, again, using artificial intelligence, these smart decisions. So we aren't sharing that data. It really is specific so that you get the best outcome when you're using our hearing aid, so that it's making the right decisions for you directly. It's a very personal approach to what we're doing within the app. So thank you for that question.
Okay, Sarah, I just have to tell you, your presentation was so incredibly informative, and it's amazing how far our hearing aids have developed to the technology they have today. I have to thank you for your time today. I also have to thank Deanna Baker for her wonderful captioning services for this webinar. This webinar will be recorded and posted to the HLA website at hearingloss.org. Please go to hearingloss.org for updates on future webinars and future walks for hearing. Our walks are now virtual, so be sure to check out our upcoming ones. We also will be having an upcoming live experience, which will kind of take part in place of our normal convention. It will be on June 18th and 19th. So we encourage you to go to hearingloss.org to find out more information about that. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope you all will stay safe and be well. Have a good day and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.